Hola is what I would say if this is a Spanish gaming channel. But we are Improv Gaming. Welcome to episode 4, where it is all about our gaming past. As always, I'm joined with my two buddies. First, he's only the biggest Zelda fan in the world. Don't believe me, he has a tattoo of the Triforce on his arm, guys. And to my right, he only has the best ponytail in the business.
It's fabulous.
Mr. Nicholas.
How you
doing? Of course, I am Pete, and I'm wishing I knew more Spanish than hola. But on today's episode, like we said, is all about gaming past. But first, as always, we have our What Up News with Jeremy Bird.
The One Up News today basically is, ding, basically they announced Star Wars Battlefront is going to be coming out for PC, Xbox One, and PS3 November 17th, which I'm excited. The game looks good. I'm a big Star Wars fan myself. They did drop the trailer for Episode 7, which I'm going to go see. Next, they announced, what was it, Guitar Hero Live, you guys said?
Yes.
Yeah, Guitar Hero Live. It's kind of dead to me. I played the series over and over again, but it's a first-person view, where instead of your character standing there and you're watching your character play, you're playing from like this view. I may buy it, I may not. And last but not least, they have the new Rock Band coming out, which you're going to be able to use all your old peripherals and stuff, like the old drum sets, guitars, and everything, which I feel is a good thing, because that way you don't have to buy more crap to clog up your room, but yet you can still try the new stuff, yet like, oh, I can just get the game now, hook it up, let's play.
That's definitely gonna have a little.
Little money.
It's gonna be annoying. I could see, but
little consumer prop right there. Help them out.
Yeah, right. But as always, we always have topics for our show. The first one is what we grew up on. So, guys, what were our first consoles? What do we do with them?
My first console that I owned was a Super NES, the SNES. That's the first console that I got, and that was a Christmas gift from my parents. And I actually had to hook it up myself. So from that point on, I always had to go behind any computer. And this is back when we had like the big tubes that were like mounting to move.
Big giant.
To just turn it on.
Just to turn it. And I was like 6 times smaller than I am now.
How is that possible?
Yeah, exactly. And I had to like inch behind like this big screen television and hook up my coax cable. Yes,
those old things.
A coax, right? That was my first experience with my own console. But before that, I had played the NES. I played the Atari 3600.
2600.
2600. That was, that was it.
Calico.
No music in a game whatsoever.
After that, I had my Genesis. I had also Sega CD, which was really interesting.
I love Sega CD.
That was an interesting little bout. And then I transitioned to the next gen, which was like the N64s, the PlayStations, and then PS2, which is by far my favorite console. And then the PS3 and PS4 and the Xbox One. I got the Xbox, actually. When I first got it, I got it with Dead or Alive, which is a great introduction for a teenage boy.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm never
So
putting down the controller
graphics.
again. But yeah, that was my first console though that I played continuously and probably lost a lot of hours of sleep on was the SNES as a kid.
What about for you, Jeremy?
I started with the NES. I got it when I was 5 or 6, probably 89, 90. I was horrible at that system originally. Like, little 5-year-old kid, you don't know how to play the game, you don't know what to do. Back when they had what's called Nintendo Hard, you spend $50 on a game. The game is like 5 levels, and then you're left there with a really crappy black screen and just a little bit of text like, you won game. You did amazing. Restart. When I got that, I had probably basically every console growing up. I had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Genesis. I never had a Sega CD. I never had a Saturn. I had a Dreamcast, which I still love that system to the end, even though the system was very broken. I never had a PlayStation, surprisingly. Of all systems, never had a PlayStation. I played it at my cousin's house. I had a PS2. I had an Xbox temporarily, and then I got the Xbox 360. Right now I do have a PS3. I have a 360, and I have the Wii U, and I did get the Wii. I don't have a PS4 or an Xbox One because I'm financials, but what are you going to do? I play with this kid and this kid all the time, and a lot of fun. But for the one system that defined me, it's so hard to say because it's either Nintendo 64 or it's Super Nintendo, because those are the two consoles that I beat the most games on. And I lost multiple hours of sleep from going from, like, it's a side-scroller, point A to point B to going to Nintendo 64, where it's like you have all the stories, the characters, just the multiple hours of like. I remember growing up and being like, my friends like, dude, let's go out and let's just run amok tonight, have some fun. I'm like, no, I'm playing Mario. I'll call you once I'm like got like 106 stars. Dude, really? And then if you start playing Zelda games, you go through everything and all of a sudden they have all the side quests. Here's my favorite case in point. Playing Twilight Princess for Wii. I started playing the game and I was doing well. At the time I was in college, so basically I would leave the console at home so I could finish up school. I came home one weekend and I started playing it. I was supposed to go with my buddies on a Saturday and they were like, dude, you coming out? I'm like, give me a minute, I'm just playing a quick game. I ended up going on the biggest side quest in the entire game, and about a good 2.5 hours later I get a phone call. Are you kidding me? You're still playing that stupid game? Get out here, we're trying to have fun. I'm like, all right, hold on, I'll be there in 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, are you done? Yeah, I just finished it, I'm coming, let's go. But that's just an example of that. But literally, those two systems, 64, Super Nintendo, I'd have to say those are probably two top two systems of all time, in my opinion. So many games, so many great stories, such good controllers.
Well, we'll get more into the favorite consoles because we could say what our favorite console is, why it is.
Sorry, I kind
but
of went ahead.
it's all good. It's an exciting episode. Whenever somebody talks about their gaming past, you can see the passion they have, which brings me up to my asinine one that I had. So I began with a Nintendo NES, Super Mario Brothers 3.
Ooh, you started good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and not forgetting Adventure Island.
Oh, I love Adventure Island.
But
Pain in the ass game.
after that, I said, you know what? I don't need a Super NES. Let me get a Sega Genesis. The worst decision of my life.
Oh my god, you poor man.
Sonic was good to me, but he was no Mario.
Blast processing.
So then I was like, nope, I want to rectify my choice. So then I went with the N64.
There you go.
And I enjoyed that. And then when the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox were coming out, I was like, all right, let me get the PS2. I've heard good things about Sony. My neighbor at the time, we played PlayStation all the time. So I was like, let me get a PS2. So I got the PS2 and never got the Xbox or the GameCube. Then
Asshole.
I decided to say, you know what? I'm crazy. I'm going to get everything. So after that, I got the Xbox 360, PS3, Wii. Now I have an Xbox One, PS4, and Wii U. I play all of them, some more than others, but... And of course, you can never forget my favorite console, or should I say handheld, the Game Boy Pocket.
Oh God!
Good,
Really?
good.
Really?
No, I'm just, what are you kidding me?
God.
But I had a Game Boy Pocket
Oh.
from back in the day. Some of you kids might not remember what a Game Boy Pocket was. And my latest one was then the PSP, and then the 3DS. But that's...
Well, the 3DS sits on the side of your TV now. Like
Yeah,
a little
just-
redheaded stepchild.
No, I play it for Smash and, Mario World Tour,
And Smash.
And it's always a good
Smash.
paperweight.
But yeah, definitely, and I'll get into more why my favorite console is the PS2, hands down. But we'll get into that more in a little bit. But the question of our gaming past, what game made us a gamer? What made us...
I think I've gone over this in one episode that we had before, but for me, the most pivotal moment in gaming ever was Metal Gear Solid for the PS1.
I can give you that. That is...
When you had to contact Meryl, and you had to... I don't... Spoiler fucking alert. Deal with it.
Whoa! Nick Gertz
I did it the first
Nick
one.
Gertz
I'm the
first!
first one this time. Alright, deal with the spoiler alert. If you haven't played it, then I feel sad for you.
Your childhood
But-
sucks if you didn't
Exactly. Where you had to actually... They were telling you to flip a CD, and they gave you a CD in your inventory. And I was so stuck on how the fuck to flip the CD, double whammy, right? My cousin is sitting there, he's looking at the disc, the actual disc case that came with the game, and he goes, is this what they're talking about?
I forgot.
And I looked and I was like, are you kidding me? That was the most pivotal moment in gaming for me where, to this day, no matter how long a Metal Gear Solid series lasts or how long the cutscenes are, I will sit there and tell everybody in the room to shut the hell up because I'm watching it. And you better shut up. So Metal Gear Solid is probably the most pivotal franchise for me where it brought me into gaming to the point where I was like, I want to see that again.
And that's what you were saying in an earlier episode, that they don't do stuff like that anymore. Like, basically, they don't hold your hand in this game. They don't put Easter eggs. It's like, you do this, point A to point B nowadays. While back then, stuff like that, you actually turn the CD over and find it. That's...
Or the Psycho Mantis boss fight
Yeah,
where you had to switch the
I'm sitting there
controller
for 40 minutes
because he
getting
could
killed by
read
this
the
guy.
first controller.
Yeah, put it in the second port, and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. That's genius.
It was very revolutionary at the time, I have to say. For me, what made me... There were two games, and one comes with a story, and one I guarantee none of you have ever heard of. But there was a game shop in where I was living at the time, and I brought my mom in when I was younger. I was probably about 13, and I was like, Mom, I need to get this game. I had no idea what game I was going to get. I was legit going to go through a pile and say, oh, there it is, and just pick out a random game and have her buy it for me. So I'm looking, and I was like, none of this looks familiar. So afterwards, she goes, okay, let's go. Is the game here? And I just go, you know what? And I pick it up, and it was Robotron 64 for the N64.
Get out of here!
Wow.
And that was one of my favorite games of all time. I still have that cartridge. I will not get rid of that cartridge because it was a pivotal point, but also a game that just made me fall in love with games and just say, this is what I want to do. Was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time.
Wow.
Love that game.
That was a good game.
That
was a good game.
It was just... Not for the story. Obviously, as later goes on, story does make a difference for me in the long run. But just to have that and choosing your turtle, and I was like, oh my god. And it was hard as hell. There's no doubt about it.
One of the best beat 'em ups of all time.
Yeah. Oh.
But it's undoubtedly the hardest game ever created, besides Battletoads.
Yeah, I beat Battletoads.
I don't know, you're having some problems with Bloodborne, I hear.
Oh, Bloodborne is just known to be f***ing difficult. Wow, I'm going 3 for 3 now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely... You think back when you think of your gaming past, and you're like, these kids today, all they know is the PS3 or they have the PS4, and then when you're like, oh... What'd you think of the original Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 or...
What's a Sonic?
Super Mario World.
I'm like, get out.
What's Sonic?
Super Mario
dude
World.
From Smash Brothers?
Yeah, exactly. From Brawl. That great game. Hold on a second.
I like Brawl.
But when a person doesn't know the Super Mario Brothers or...
Donkey Kong.
Oh, Donkey Kong.
And then they go back and say, oh, this game is garbage. I'm going to go back to playing, Call of Duty. It blows my mind because it's so interesting how we live in a generation now that you see these kids that, of course, obviously in their own right, they can enjoy what they want. But to not go back to those classic games that we share so close to our hearts. I love Darkwing Duck on the NES.
That's a hard game.
I love that, just so many games where I'm, going through the Wii Virtual Console, the Wii U shop, just to pick up those games and say, I need to pick up Super Mario Brothers 3. I have 3 Super Mario 3s on the Wii, the Wii U, and the 3DS. Just because I love that game. I handed it to my nephew, and he was just like, what is this? It blows my mind. I don't know if you've had a similar experience with your nephew.
Let me first tell you my all-time... The game that made me a gamer, it's not hard to guess, but... Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. That game was the first Super Nintendo game I've ever beaten. One of my favorite stories is I've beaten it so many times to where I had a party a couple of years ago, and my friend's like, oh, let's play Ocarina of Time. And I'm like, dude, that's going to take 12 hours. He's like, well, what do you want to play? I'm like, Link to the Past. I can bang it out in 5. He goes, BS. Show it to me. I'm like, put the beer case next to me. Let's whip out the Super Nintendo and let's do this. 5 hours later, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm holding the Triforce on my screen, and my buddy's like, how do you remember where all the heart containers are, all the items? I've beaten the game countless upon countless times, and I think just from how the story is, how it begins with the rain and everything, and then you walk into the castle, you get the sword, you find out that okay, I'm just a kid trying to save Zelda, and then it's this whole big, with the sages and just battling Ganon. It's just for me that game was always I have to save the sages, I have to save Zelda, I have to stop Ganon. I have to fix the Dark World and make it a better place. That's why that game has always been the game that made it for me and made me into a gamer.
Well, that's like muscle memory, you know? All the stuff. Even in Super Mario Brothers 3, to go to the next world to get that secret whistle.
The warp whistle, yes.
The warp whistle.
I still remember that thing.
You know, like, we have that instilled in our brains because that's what we grew up. You have a muscle memory of playing and saying, I know exactly where I have to go. And it's just, it shows. You know, nowadays, you don't have that. It's just, you blow through a Call of Duty campaign, you blow through this, and you don't take the time to go, oh, what are the secret little gems in here?
Oh,
you know?
I'm stuck. I can't figure this out. Oh, let me go on the internet and find out.
Yeah. YouTube, how do you get past this? Let me go buy a strategy guide.
I'm guilty of the YouTube thing when I get stuck sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a little guilty of that too, because there are some times where the
We're
puzzle
just like,
is
what
just way too ridiculous.
What do I do?
It's understandable, like, but it's like somebody where I've seen them play and then just go, you know what, I'm just going to look this up. Or have somebody watch a walkthrough while you're playing the walkthrough, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It takes
forever.
away,
It takes forever.
you know? Because they'll do something and then you'll be like, all right, hold on, I got to back up. Let me pause the game when we do this. And it turns out to be another 15-minute endeavor where you could have been 15 minutes farther in the game.
Okay, I was going to say about like my niece and nephew. They're 10 and 9. For the longest time, I've been trying to show them some of the old retro games. I showed them, they watched me play Majora's Mask on my 3DS. I'm like, why don't I put it on the 64? Let's see what you like. My niece is like, this game looks so ugly. Because like you're going from like what the old format was to a flat screen.
Yeah.
I tried everything. They're into Pokemon now. Pokemon card games, whatever.
Oh, goodness.
They play like Omega Ruby. They've been playing X and Y. And I'm just, last week they came over and I'm just like, let me see if this is going to work. I'm thinking this is never going to work. They're not going to go for it. I showed them Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 for Nintendo 64. They would not turn that system off all weekend. They were like screaming like, Charizard, I choose you. Flamethrower. And then when they would die, like, no, Charizard. My mother get attached. She heard them yelling from my room, no, Charizard. Who should I pick? Who should I pick? What should I do? And I'm just like, I couldn't get my TV all weekend because of all the games. Now they're going to come this weekend and they're going to be like, can we play Pokemon Stadium again? And I'm going to be like, let's do this. Play. So happy. So friggin' happy that I finally got him into a game.
If you think about it quick before we get to you, is if Nintendo does with Pokemon what they did with the Nintendo characters for Amiibos,
that was my idea.
Millions.
That was my idea.
They would make millions.
About the first episode.
If you can't find Mewtwo in the game, you buy his Amiibo, and by God, you'll have Mewtwo.
You'll have him.
And then you can go into like you can like when they do Mega Charizard, make him an Amiibo.
Yeah. Oh.
Cha-ching.
My God. That would be insane. But another topic of gaming past. What is your favorite console of all time? The PS4, Xbox One, doesn't matter. They just came out. What console defined you? What could you want to go back to all the time? You were touching on it. We need an answer. The fans want an answer,
this is
Jeremy.
So
the fans want an
real
answer.
This is so hard. Fine. It's got to be the Super Nintendo.
Oh! No.
Because...
State your claim. State your claim, my boy.
Here's my claim. Super Mario World, Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country, Mario RPG, F-Zero, let's see, Metal Warriors, Paperboy 2. You have countless of just good, amazing games that'll entertain you. You go back to the Nintendo and you're like, okay, you have all these great games, but half the library is crap. Like, I'm trying to think, Karate Kid. That's a crap game. You can beat it in 20 minutes and it leaves you unsatisfied. Ghostbusters is a crap game for NES.
Oh,
Ghostbusters when you push start. But Super Nintendo, you have Contra 3. You have just countless games that just are that. You guys agree with me? Like, let's go a little tangent. Name a couple of your favorite Super Nintendo games.
I would probably have to say Super Mario World.
No, other than what I've been saying.
I didn't have the system that much.
You
have to remember that.
You had it, Nick.
No, I played Super Mario. I played Donkey Kong, Street Fighter.
Yes, Super Street. That's the one I forgot.
Street Fighter. What else was there?
Star Fox.
Star
I
Fox.
forgot about Star Fox.
You remember how like ugly that Star Fox was?
It still looks terrible.
It's like it was like little tiny like lines
Polygons.
and like polygons. It was like completely disgusting. But then they finally like on 64 when they went 3D with it, I was like, okay, now I can actually see what I'm doing. But yeah, there was a lot of games on the Super Nintendo system that, yeah, I never beat a single one of them. Mind you, I was like 4 years old at the time, so I never beat a single one of them. I just played them.
Yeah, but here's what else is, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
I was gonna say also Super Mario RPG, another great game for that. I just lost what I was gonna say. Oh, if you go back to like older consoles, NES craps out. Literally, it gets like the flashing by the connector pins don't work. My Super Nintendo, I got in 1991. It still works. It hasn't discolored. It hasn't had a hiccup ever. It still works, whether or not like how old the system gets. The cool thing is I don't use the RF switch on it. It literally has the what the heck, the red, white, and yellow.
Yeah.
The AV cables.
The AV
you can
cables,
put
yep.
that in the back of the system, and boom, you can plug it right into your TV like that. The system keeps going. It actually was one of the longest running systems in Europe. They recently, about 3 or 4 years ago, just discontinued making games for the Super Nintendo in Europe. It's not Super Famicom. It was just whatever it was called in Europe. That was one of the longest running systems. But literally, if anybody's like, "Oh, Super Nintendo is like junk. It didn't have anything good," I'm like, "There's the door. You're wrong. You're just
You're
wrong.
absolutely incorrect."
Yeah, you're not just wrong. You're stupid.
No, it's a great console, and I think a lot of those older consoles just hold up to the test of time. Like
Yep.
you can just you can grab your N64 or
mine still
whatever
works.
and just plug it in and it'll still work. Unlike now, you leave your Xbox 360 running or alone for God knows how long, you plug it in, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah, my Xbox 360 after Superstorm Sandy, the power kept going on and off, on and off. Never had a problem. I had the Halo 3 version. I put, you remember this. I got WWE 13. I put the game in. It starts up. My favorite wrestler, Zack Ryder's song, starts playing in the background. I'm trying to put a quick Facebook status up. I just got this as the first theme song. I push start, checkerboard. I look down, triple red ring, system's gone.
Wow.
I had to get a brand new system because literally I can not find a place other than going to Microsoft themselves to get the system fixed. Now it literally sits in my closet as just a decoration because there's no way to fix the damn thing.
Nice.
But,
No, the Sega Genesis had Rambo. Good goes.
oh dear God!
The Genesis. Here's what the Genesis had: Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
With blood.
with blood.
Not
That's
that
what the
PG
Genesis
version.
But
had.
it had the twang. Oh God.
I guess my favorite console was the PS2. My case being the Metal Gear series, my case being the Devil May Cry series, my case being the God of War series. Did God of War start on the PS2?
Yes, it did.
It did. It did start on the PS2.
Big fan of the PS2. What did it start?
It did start on the PS2, right? Actually, hold on one second. My case being that to this day, I'll still have games for the PS2 even though I don't have a console.
Why are you
there.
showing me? Show me
I got Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts, perfect. Right? That's a perfect example. Devil May Cry. I have all 3 of them, I think. Maybe not. But and then Grand Theft Auto, the San Andreas, which was like the biggest map at the time.
Yep.
So like
I still collect.
I'm such a fan that I still have the discs even though I'm not even touching them.
Yep.
That was the most pivotal system for me. Where when I went through my library to go, okay, now I'm on the PS3, my PS2, I'm not even playing it anymore. What am I going to throw these games out? I was like, this one's garbage. This one is Devil May Cry. This one's garbage. This one's Metal Gear Solid 3. This one's garbage. This one is God of War. Yeah. This one's garbage. This one's Kingdom Hearts 1. This one's Kingdom Hearts 2. And I'm still waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3.
I don't want us to curse the whole time and just have Nick go
All I was
off.
gonna say is I got the opposite end of the stick with the situation, Nick. I didn't get a PS2 at first. I got the GameCube, and I fought people to the death over GameCube versus PS2, and they're like, it's got a DVD player. I'm like, I don't care. I got better games. And then my friend slapped me across the face. He goes, you don't ever besmirch Devil May Cry. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
What was it? Not the GameCube. The one game that I played on the worst system, the nail in the coffin for Sega, the Dreamcast. Do you guys remember Power Stone?
I like Power Stone.
That was an amazing game.
They got a sequel.
Yeah, it did.
Sequel wasn't as good.
But Power Stone was probably the most amazing game, and I'm so freaking pissed that Dreamcast died off and Sega was never able to bring that franchise to fruition.
Oh yeah, they did cross-platform into PS2, but then they just...
Yeah, well, I mean, right now all they're really doing is just working with Nintendo.
Yep. Then we got Sonic 06 on modern console.
Well, my console that defines me is also the PS2. My favorite game series of all time is on that console, which is Ratchet and Clank.
Yes!
By far.
I did play Ratchet and Clank.
I started with Going Commando and then Up Your Arsenal, which is the second and third game, and then went back to the first one. But there's
you poor man. That
neither here or there. Also, Prince of Persia, one of my favorite trilogies, because I just loved, and this is my beeping spoiler alert. See,
beeping.
But when he's running through the forest, and he goes, "I have an amazing story to tell you," and then the last scene of the third game was him saying, like looking off the balcony, and I still remember like it was yesterday, running through the forest saying, "I have an incredible story," and just shows that it just
infinite loop.
Yeah, I was just like, this is amazing. I love the system. The God of Wars, the Devil May Cry's, the Kingdom Hearts, like all these games that I'm just like, you have a collection, ladies and gentlemen. I have an egg box full of games. I must have at least 45 PS2 games still.
I'll take them.
Just because. No surprise there, Psyops Mind Gates Conspiracy. One of my favorite games of all time.
That game was so good.
But I ended up getting the last PS3 that was backwards compatible with all PS2 games.
I hate you so much.
And it cost me $800 to get.
How much was it?
$800.
It was one of the first.
Oh yeah, you're right.
The Game Zone was doing it. It was a big thing.
Yeah.
But like I got it, and I was just like, I sold my PS2 to get towards it, and then like here I am, and I played Shadow of Colossus. Remember that?
That's such
God.
a good game.
Oh my goodness.
But then
my heartstrings. Oh God, I don't want to kill you, but I must.
But
that ending was fudged up. Excuse me. That ending was. You cannot admit that ending was messed up.
But on that note, I think another gaming past is what memory. I have another memory besides the Prince of Persia, but what memory of a game stuck to you where you're just like, my God, I would love to replay that sequence over and over again. I'll let you guys think about this because this is improv and I just came up with it about 2 minutes ago. Mine would be Halo 3, where you're in, let me set the stage for you. You're in you're in this ravine and there's the two spider machines, and here I am grabbing a banshee and flying in trying to shoot these down until I realized you have to go onto the spider. So I would crash my banshee into the spider, then go around shooting all the grunts to get to this power cord, power like greatness, shoot it, throw a grenade, destroy it, then have a ticking time going doot, running back to my banshee, flying away, and then turning around and seeing the spider blow up. It is, to this day, my favorite gaming memory that I just love to this day. Because right after I did the first one, I said, I cannot wait to do it again. And that's what I did, and crashed right into the spider. And that's when I fell in love with first-person shooters. And I didn't like Halo in the beginning, guys, but that was just, I can't even get the words out. It was just that great for me to experience that moment where I'm just like, this is why I love to play video games. I give the floor to you, gentlemen. What would be that defining moment?
For me, it was Devil May Cry.
Which part?
Where if you got enough mobs and you juggled them in the air, you could keep one guy up in the air, start shooting another one, chaining your combos that way. Just kind of juggling. Literally, like, one guy comes down, you throw him back up. The other guy comes down, you throw him back up in the air. And just chaining your combos across everybody. Getting up in the air, just holding 3 guys up in the air. Then throwing them higher, dropping to the ground, shooting left and right. Like that. And Devil May Cry was the most... For me, was the most... I guess the word would be confusing experience. Sophisticated experience, probably, just because I had to pay attention to so much while I was doing it. You could always go into Devil May Cry and hack and slash, but the moment I figured out that you could juggle all these enemies, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Just keeping all these characters up in the air and chaining your combos that far. And it's not a fighting game. It's a hack and slasher that's doing this. I was dumbfounded. So Devil May Cry will always have a special place in my heart, despite the fact that DMC kind of sucked.
You did not like DMC?
It was okay.
The
It was
collect
alright.
the
It was better than
ultimate
4.
It was much better than 4, but
The-
but they took 4 and just merged it with Dante. Like they took
Yeah.
Nero and merged him with Dante.
It's got to be Ocarina of Time for me.
I was gonna say, and I can tell you the moment too, I think. Are you gonna say when you, at the end, when you're Link and you get, and Ganondorf, like, transforms into Ganon?
No. When after you get the 3 spiritual stones and you
That
open
was my
the
other line.
you open the Temple of Time with the Master Sword, and Ganon shows up, and then literally Ganondorf takes the Triforce, and basically it shows you 7 years growing up. The sages have preserved you, and then literally they're like, the world has changed. Everything's different. Everything you knew is not the same. We'll show you the way to the first sages, but you have to release them. And you walk out, and you just look at Hyrule Castle Town. Everything's destroyed. There's redeads all over the place. I remember just walking out of the Temple of Time and literally just like putting the controller down and be like, "What did you do?" Like literally, I was shaking at the time. I was just like, "What did you do, Ganondorf? What did you do to Hyrule?" And I was just like, "All right, I'm not stopping until I take him down." Like I was pissed. I was like, "You just destroyed everything. You destroyed the world I knew, I loved." I'm like, "I am going to not rest until you are dust."
And then he gets to the water temple and says, "God damn you, Ganondorf!"
No, it was more like this. No, I went to the water temple, went through it. I got out of the temple. I saved, and I'm like, "That sucked. I never want to do that again." But it just literally getting that emotion of like everything was all happy when you're a kid, and then literally he just destroyed everything. He killed every person that was in that town, and just for his own personal pleasure. And I was just like, I can't let this be. And it was just that, and then literally at the end, you are right. It does get you where he transforms into Ganon, and I'm just like, oh my god.
It's like Shadow of the Colossus when you're this little thing and then these mammoth creatures come and you're like, I have to take that down. But also, guys, we got a couple emails from you guys, the fans, about your gaming pass. So I'm going to read a couple of them to you. And as always, if you want to contribute to our conversation, you can always follow us on Twitter at improv_gaming. And Nick will fill you in with all the rest of that fun stuff. But the first one comes from Vic from Hoboken, New Jersey. He started with a Sega Genesis, a Dreamcast, a PS1, PS2, 360, PS3, Xbox One, PS4. And the lasting impression game for him was Warriors for PS2 because of the
Really?
long storyline and the adventurous gameplay.
Warriors. Clink, clink, clink.
I
Come
can't,
out and play.
I can't get behind that.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
I love the movie.
100%.
Yeah.
That's like what was that game on the PlayStation? There was and they just remade it, or they just like put it out again on the PlayStation Network, and it was a good game, but it's not something that it was like Streets of Rage, but they turned it into a 3D game with 3 characters, one big burly dude.
Oh, that's gonna bother me.
That's gonna really bother the hell out of me.
Not trying.
No, not trying.
Jackass.
He's like, do you mean Overlord? No, not Overlord. I can't remember it. But that's like saying that Streets of Rage in 3D is an awesome game. It would be if they ever made one, but they never have. They haven't made something that's palpable like Streets of Rage.
So here's my question for you, gentlemen. What's the one game where you played it and it wasn't like I just wasted my money on this game? The one game that like frustrated you the most, like I effing hate that game. I don't want to play this game again. And you beat it and you're like, that wasn't worth it. I beat this game and for all that frustration. Everybody has that one game that you just cannot stand. And I'm excluding Battletoads because Battletoads is just so annoying.
A game that was frustratingly difficult.
This is gonna.
For me, it was okay.
But you have to finish the game. You're saying?
Whether or not you beat it, we'll leave it at that.
Because I have two. One that I finished that I cursed myself for finishing, and one that I didn't even get past the first level because I go, this is not even worth playing anymore.
Enlighten me.
Go ahead.
On the PS2 era, Champions of Norath.
Oh,
I hated my least favorite game of all time. You want a hate column? That's right at the top. I hated that game. I hated that game. I got it from Blockbuster. When Blockbuster was the thing, guys, I went to rent it.
It still is a thing.
Is it?
Yeah, they actually
in
do
Narnia?
exist places.
In Narnia?
No, there are Blockbusters like.
Are we going back to
scattered,
Hogwarts for
like,
this?
scattered around in like these little secluded realms of society where people don't know about the internets.
But that was just, I returned it because I was like, this game is terrible. Can I get something else within like 2 hours? But a game that I was frustrated with and that I beat, and I'm sorry, Jay, but I have to say it, was Donkey Kong Returns Tropical Freeze.
I can give you that because
I hated that game, and I am a stickler for finishing games now. I'm like, nope, I gotta finish it because that's just
this game
how I
sucks,
am.
but I gotta finish it.
And I just, oh sweet Jesus, it was the most frustrating thing next to Shadow of Mordor. That people are gonna hate me on, but
Godzilla.
Oh my goodness.
Godzilla King of the Monsters for NES.
But
That game is so broken. Like, okay, basically you play as Godzilla or Mothra, and basically you're going along a honeycomb grid to get to the end, to get to the next level. You have to face like 8 different monsters. You get 1 health bar, and then it's game over. You can make your way all the way to the end of the game, and if you die right before the final boss, you go all the way back to the beginning. I played that game when I was 7, and I would get to the 3rd level, and I go up against this giant tentacle monster. No, it's not hentai. Don't worry, fans. We're not that gross. But basically, I would just get beat by him every single time. My mother banned me from playing Nintendo because I got so mad one day. I pulled the game out after he beat me, and I threw it across the room. She's like, give me your Nintendo. You're not allowed to play that. And I'm like, I can't beat it. It's not fair. Game cheats. It's such an unfair game.
All right.
I thought
For
I beat
a
it.
game that was frustrating and not worth it, L.A. Noire.
Ooh.
That's right.
Now we're going to get hate mail.
That's right. L.A. Noire. I thought it was boring. It was uninteresting. Nothing about it kept me attached to the game.
were you good at it?
Yeah.
Did you know what you were doing? Were they like, sir, you should fail?
No, I was getting promoted every time I would play the game. I just didn't think it was worth it. I thought the hype was way too high for that game. I got the game because of the hype. That's the reason I got the game. I was not interested in playing a detective game at all, but everybody kept on throwing out raving reviews about it. So I was like, all right, you know what? Everybody's talking about this game. This is like 50 Shades of Grey before 50 Shades of Grey came out.
Oh, that's terrible.
All right? That's basically what it was. Then I finally played, and I'm like, this is 50 Shades of Grey. Like, this sucks. This is not something I'm interested in at all, right? A game that I beat and I was extremely frustrated with, that I enjoyed, Deus Ex, Human Revolution. That game was phenomenal to me. But mind you, right, I'm thinking in my mind while you guys are talking, like, these games are pretty much exactly the same. L.A. Noire and Deus Ex. How can I tell you that I like one over the other? I have no idea. But I like Deus Ex. I don't like L.A. Noire.
See, I liked Donkey Kong Returns when it first came to Wii. I was like, like, I enjoyed that. And then Tropical Freeze came, and I was like, this should have stayed frozen.
Fine, I'll take some hate mail.
Yeah.
One game that I was very overhyped for me, and I played it and skipped it, was Grand Theft Auto 5.
Skipped it?
Ooh.
Everybody's like, oh, the new Grand Theft Auto, $20 million budget, and I'm just like, I'm waiting for the new Halo. What's the big effing deal? And my friend's like, you're not getting Grand Theft Auto 5? I'm like, what? I played 1 through 4, and to me, it's the same story. And like, oh, you have 3 different I'm like, I don't care enough. I played it at my friend's house for 20 minutes. It's not just going around blowing stuff up, playing with the helicopter. I started doing the mission, and I'm just like, it's okay. My friend's like, get out. I'm like, it's the best game. I'm like, no, it's not. He's like, get out. I'm like, all right, I'll catch you later. Bye.
I can understand that.
Sorry, guys. It's very overrated.
I'm a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto series, but I do know that every time I get it, I'm playing the same game I played last time.
Thank you. Some people don't get it.
I do know that.
Just a different soundtrack.
I'm playing the same game that I played last time with a different soundtrack, right? And the missions are switched around, like they took a randomized track and just like, all right, that's the next mission set that we're gonna have.
Yep.
Well, I think we're going to close out in a couple minutes on our gaming pass, but a couple more emails. This comes from Joe in Texas. He has played, get ready for this, guys, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, Wii, Wii U, Game Boy Color, Game Boy DS, Game Boy 3DS. Boy likes Nintendo.
Jeez.
What's his favorite game? Any Mario game.
Talk about Nintendo. He's more terrible than me.
My
Yes,
goodness.
right?
No.
Jeez. He's addicted to Nintendo.
Yeah, right. And then the final one comes from Joshua in Kansas. He
We're
played.
yours in Kansas? That's
Yeah, right.
awesome.
Who knew? He has played the PS1, PS3, Xbox One, and PS4. That's a little interesting.
How'd
but-
you not get a PS2 out of that? That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
right. He's just maybe
know.
he
Guess
went on
he-
hiatus. His lasting impression was
He was grounded those couple of years.
was the fighting game Tekken.
Oh,
Remember
Tekken?
Tekken?
Wow, Tekken.
That-
Wow.
That new game looks really good.
Oh, I'm playing Evo and Tekken. Me and him were going. We'll
Wait.
give you guys content when it comes.
July
It'll be fun.
17th and 19th, Las Vegas, Nevada at Bally's. Myself and him will be there. And forgive me for saying this, but we'll be having a couple little videos from that.
Oh,
Spoilers!
we will. But as always, talk to the fans. Where can they find us? Where's all that stuff about?
You can follow us on Twitter at Improv Gaming. You can follow us on YouTube. It's Improv Space Gaming. And then like us on Facebook, Improv Gaming. You can even email us at improvgamers@gmail.com. Be
Like
happy to
these guys
answer them.
did.
Like these guys did, absolutely. That way, we might shout you out on the show. Let us know.
But on our next episode, another good one, I feel. I was really happy to do this one, but I'm just as happy to do the next episode. We have 3 topics like usual, guys. The first one is openings and endings in game. Do they make a difference?
That's going to be
Do-
so good.
Does it matter to have a great opening and a great ending? Can it make or break the game? Also, tutorials. Are they useful? Are they a pain in the ass? What do we think about that? I have a couple ideas. And finally, strategy guides. And not anything more than strategy guides, because that's going to be a topic.
No game facts, no YouTube, just straight up a book sitting in front of you.
But as always, you can also follow us on Twitter at JimmyPoison450, at ImprovPete, and at Profit.
Prof Cot.
Profcot.
Fail.
Epic fail.
You know what? It was close.
Get out of the podcast. Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm so ashamed. But thank you guys for watching. Our Disney video got over 70 views, which is awesome. We like to keep giving you content. Also, we've started doing streaming on Twitch. So if you guys are interested in having us stream a game for you, we were talking about doing Bloodborne. Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and as always, guys,
Game on.
game on.
Game on.